laptop previously had visited those sites and stored those files and all that, which this employee did not realize. So once it was brought to light, the representation was made and the debarment was cancelled. These kind of things are very important and people should realize. And this is a very sensitive case because he was a senior employee and it became a little bit of a messy affair. We also have the comfort of buying things online, but there are cases where identity theft has happened. The credit card numbers and bank account numbers are shared very openly because people are not used to going through this kind of an experience anytime. And it has happened where somebody's bank was cleaned out because he bought some very small stuff, but she ended up sharing his credit card number and mother's maiden name and the bank account number, and it was enough for somebody to clean out the amounts. There are rewards and lottery schemes. There are rewards and lottery schemes which come in. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. There are rewards and lottery schemes which happen and people get misled by that. Let's go to the next one. Awareness. The single biggest thing is being aware of the laws, regulations, the rules and regulations of the place that we are in. Border crossing is another thing which frequently gets into a messy situation. I was personally an example of it where from San Diego we were getting into Mexico, and at the border the person at the Mexican side said, "No problem sir, you don't need a visa, you can come in anytime." And I was there with my wife and a couple of friends and everybody was very excited. They quickly crossed onto the Mexican side. I was holding myself back, but when these guys got in, I also got in. There was no problem. We shopped around in Mexico border, but when we tried to get into the US, that's the time they realized that we don't have our passports with us, we don't have our documents with us, and we just got into a foreign country. Luckily for us, we had enough support available back in the organization. We called up a few people, and the people at the border were also fairly helpful. They checked our records, everything was fine, so they let us in. And I'm sure if it had happened post-2001, it would have been a lot more messy. Okay. Some of the laws, we tend to talk more about US and UK, but sometimes in the Gulf and the Middle East, there are laws which are very, very stringent, and there are some laws which the foreigners are subjected to, and the local people are not subjected to those laws. One of the examples is where at a common place, there was an execution going on, where whiplashing. It's very common in some of these Gulf nations. Whiplashing. When there is a whiplashing or execution happening, the place is cordoned for almost 3-4 kilometers. You cannot enter that area. So some of our guys went in and they got caught in that barricade. They were not able to come out, but they did not know that they should not be crossing. And it was a messy affair for them. The other thing that I can talk about is consular services. One should make sure that one is registering with the local consulate, the country's consulate, and ensuring that the information about their contact and address and all is available with the local government institution there. One of our employees dived into a swimming pool, which was very shallow. He hit his head and he went into a coma. The government, the Washington state government, confirmed that they will take care of this person till the time he is alive. The parents were very grateful. The state did take care of them for almost 1.5 months, but when the situation did not improve, the parents wanted the boy to come back, and we actually carried him back here. But the state had a scheme which we realized based on this. Okay, let's go. Over-enthusiasm. Some of us get over-enthusiastic, and we mistake the friendliness and open environment as if they're can also become problematic. Okay. Lifestyle changes. A lot of easy EMIs, availability, car lease schemes. I remember situations where just because something is available, we go for the biggest SUV or something that is generally not acceptable in that environment. And then the local population resents that. They feel that somebody from outside has come in and is leading a very comfortable life, whereas they are struggling in their own country and they are not able to get that BMW or Mercedes-Benz or the SUV that the other people are able to drive. Some of us get into the situation of flaunting unnecessarily, which can also result in some kind of mugging. Mugging can happen. It can get into physical violence. Drinking, gambling, these are things which are very easily available. It's an open culture, but sometimes it leads the people astray, especially when they have more money and they are not yet responsible or they are behaving irresponsibly. Physical security. There are situations, we had a few situations in the Chicago area where people were very safe. They were not carrying even a single dollar in their pocket. When the mugging happened, if they had a $10 bill or $20 bill, if they had given it, probably it would have settled the case there itself. But because they did not have any money, the person who was mugging, the mugger had got very irritated. He got angry and he actually slapped him and caused physical harm. If he had given some money, maybe it would have come down. So these are some of the things which people should be aware of. Trying new things out without adequate supervision. I remember Diwali lighting. Somebody bought a light, that serial lights, and put it on his house in San Francisco. And the whole structure was wooden structure. Some short circuit happened and there was a huge fire. And unfortunately, these people had put the lights on, but they had gone to the temple to pray. And when the loose contact happened and there was a fire, there was nobody, some of the neighbors and the people nearby had to call the fire engine and ambulance to come in. And by the time they reacted, it was fairly late. And people don't get into rental insurance and things like that, which is again something very cheap, but we don't want to waste money, so we don't get into some of these protections. Getting into arguments over local matters, politics, sports, etc. Is another area to be avoided because we are not very comfortable with it. Last slide. There was one more slide. Okay. There was a situation where two people were sitting in a cab and they were talking about politics, they were talking about